quick experiment with firing your beam before we get started. It's been mentioned that the highest damage attack in the game is simply spamming your beam firing. And I had, for quite a while, felt like no matter how fast I fire, it capped you to a certain speed. So I was under the impression that it would always cap to a specific speed, like there is a recoil or a recast, I guess, before you can fire a second time. And that it would also, very likely, queue your shots up. So if you tap twice real quick, it will fire the second one as soon as is feasible. Now, this is actually recorded after the end of the finale and everything, so I only learned this a second ago while experimenting. But I'm actually pretty reasonably quick at mashing, but I didn't try to genuinely mash until just now, and as it turns out, I'm not confident that this is capped. If it is capped, it's shockingly high, because you fire pretty much as fast as you can hit the button. Welcome back to Metroid Dread. Wrong button. We are in Hanubia. Last time we finished collecting items. 100% we are at currently. The last of the Emmys has been defeated. Our Metroid DNA has awoken. The only thing that's left is nuking the planet, but Ravenwing won't stand idly aside while we do that, so we're going to have to go up for our final confrontation with him first. Ravenwing is said to be on an aerial station base of some form, and we just found this, which is going to be our ticket there. This is the finale of the game. We still can't get back to our ship because this door is in the way. Two hits. Thankfully, with the screw attack, we kind of don't have to worry about fighting enemies anymore. I wonder if Samus has any music playing in her suit while she's running around or just waiting. Alright, we are up here. Well, we gotta find our way out for... Oh, well, never mind. We can just go up over. I'm pretty sure we saw a cutscene where Raven Beak was sitting here staring at this. Is that our head? It's hard to tell. Well, our suit's head. Save room. So you can actually take the capsule back down. So this is not like in Torian in Super Metroid. This is not a point of no return. You are welcome to save here. And I believe coming up would be the final boss. Quickly, before we go in, when I played through I mentioned very, very early on that if this game wants you to experience dread, it absolutely made me experience dread, but probably not in the way that it wanted me to. It's just knowing things like going in, if I have to go through the Emmy zone, I'm just going to die a lot. My first run through, I'm a lot better now than I was my first run through. But first run through, I'm just going to die a lot trying to get through there. I know a boss is coming up. I know I'm going to die to that boss a lot before I figure out how to beat it, before I, like, learn it and get it down and make the friggin' neuron connections in my brain so I can actually beat it. And knowing that, knowing what was in store for me every time I booted up the game, that, to an extent, made me dread having to play the game. Like, I'd sit down and go, I need to play more Dread because I want to make videos of it. But I don't want to get involved in that. The worst of that was the final boss. I had heard people saying that the final boss was rough. And knowing that the final boss was rough, knowing that I had collected every item in the game and the final boss was still going to be rough. And worst of all, I said, I'm just going to go in and see how I do. I don't intend to fight it right now. I just want to see what's going on. And I went in and I got trashed. I had a save right outside the final boss door. I did not play this game for 2 weeks. And honestly, probably the only reason I fought the final boss at all was because I was on a time limit to start making videos. I dreaded having to boot this game up and fight the final boss. But I did. I set aside a chunk of time to do it. And it took a chunk of time. The final boss is not hecking around. It took me a few hours of attempts in order to beat this thing. But it's an amazing kind of hard. Because it's practicable and it's learnable. It took me half a dozen attempts, half an hour, just to get past the first phase. And by the time I was done, it was a no-brainer to get past the first phase. Just, boop, you're through it. Just hurry up and get me back to the part that I'm dying at. It is absolutely learnable. I have no expectation that I'm not going to die a lot getting this down again. But let's see how it goes. Because I am notably better at the game now than I was my first playthrough. Just playing the game. You get this much better each time. And I think that's so cool. I almost feel bad that I can't show you my first playthrough because of how much better a time I've had with it the second time through. But also the first playthrough by comparison was kind of embarrassing. And the way some of you were talking in the comments, this playthrough is almost getting to be embarrassing. But Let's go. Oh, we're not there yet. No, can't go up there. Can't go up there. Okay, that's crumble blocks. Here, you know what? Let's just... Okay. Well, how about if I just do this? Just gonna power down your whole dumb station. Oh, this is a neat elevator. This is like the closest to the old Metroid elevators we get. The little energy circle you stand on. I guess we get to talk to Adam again before we're...
Uploading data.
It appears your Metroid DNA has caused you to become a Metroid. Ordinarily, this would have happened immediately after the DNA transplant.
I mean, it's not going to just completely override my own DNA.
Your Foha genes must have slowed down the process. They were the only tribe capable of controlling the Metroids.
How do you know that was... You know what? They probably know that crap. Galactic Federation. They know what I went through. And, like, yeah, they're the ones who made the Metroids. It was friggin' Grey Voice or whatever that was kind of in charge of making them. So, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Though you possess their DNA, you are not a Foha. Your physical prowess suggests that you must also possess Makan DNA.
Okay. Well, yeah, like, Grey Voice was there, but there was, I don't know who the other dude was, but he was, like, warrior dude. Taught Samus to fight? I forget his name. God dang it. Like, maybe he was Makan.
Metroids are programmed to identify Makan as enemies. This suggests one thing to me. It is very probable that your metamorphosis occurred as a result of Raven Beak's attack. His presence awakened the Metroid's killer instinct. Since then, your metamorphosis has accelerated. It can no longer be controlled. You are now a Metroid, Samus Aran. Your very existence poses a grave threat to the galaxy. However, there is no need to fear. You can still contribute to galactic peace. You need only use your new powers correctly.
I don't like where you're going with this.
You have followed my instructions faithfully so far. Continue to do so. It's that simple. I consider your performance here on ZDR highly satisfactory. As I hoped, it has even awakened your Metroid powers. I was right to let you live during our first encounter. That one glimpse you showed told me everything. Submit and offer up your power. My plan is the only way to bring order to the galaxy. Fulfill your destiny, Samus. This is an order. Disobedience will not be tolerated.
I don't know what I'm in for, I forget already. I forget how to fight you already. I forget everything about how to do anything here. Hit the wrong button, repeatedly. That I was supposed to counter. Okay, let's just die a lot while I remember how to fight this guy. I don't think I can counter those. There's no, there's no, like, spark on them. So this thing is kind of a pain in the butt. You just have to shoot it a lot. His shield also... Wrong button. His shield also changes color. and I'm not actually sure what the color change means. That's the one I gotta counter that I keep forgetting to counter. He's so tall, I can't just jump! That was the counter that I didn't do. Oh, I'm out of... No, I'm not out of missiles. What the heck? That's the one I got a counter that I keep thinking is gonna be a different one. Okay, sure, I'll come. He does that laugh and, like, point, and you actually have to, like, run up and get him. That's the one I got a counter. I think once he gets the gold armor, you can't hurt him at all. You can only hurt him through counters. Phase 1. Gotta remember what all his tells are. This is gonna be the thing where he does the thing. You may notice that I'm using ice missiles instead of the thing. I've found it is just flat better DPS against him. This is the guy that I was talking about before. I've had... I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is exactly, but oh, jeez. But trying to do the storm missile on him took notably longer. Frustratingly, this phase, I feel like, is one of the longest phases. I am yet to find a good way to speed this phase up. But this is the phase that I found, I did not try, admittedly, just friggin' shooting him. Ice missiles was faster than storm missiles, which was faster than, charge beam. Third phase. He's got a lot of stuff now, and I don't like any of it. There is just a little bit of a tell before he actually fires. This crap again. He can do some dumb stuff with that speed boost, by the way. Oh, this is also a pain in the butt to dodge. There is a slight tell. I don't know how to fight that phase. We did well, though. We did real heckin' well. So, point to note before we go back in. A, this entire game, Adam has been Ravenbeak. The whole game. You remember when, at the very beginning, when we're going down the elevator, and when we're going down the elevator, you hear Adam saying, hey, we may lose radio contact when you get down there, and then he kind of fizzles out? That was it. That was the last time you spoke to Adam. After that, the entire time, it's been Ravenbeak. I tried to, like, subtly acknowledge this throughout the series, but I didn't want to spoil it. Because, boy, did that get me at the end. Right at the end, as soon as it happened, as soon as everything broke free, I had the epiphany of the whole game. The whole game. Like, you noticed immediately, early on, I pointed out, Adam wasn't calling you lady anymore. 'Cause how would Ravenbeak know to do that? And you just got little bits and pieces of something that Adam would say that make you go, that felt a little weird. Maybe that was a little aggressive. Like, speaking to me in a little way, acknowledge your weakness, or whatever that one line was. Like, really? Would Adam say that? But it's like all just close enough to be in character that you don't, and you don't like know who Ravenbeak is. You don't know what he talks like. You don't know what kind of person he's like. So, like, that was mind-blowing. Also, the first time you encountered Ravenbeak, the first time you encountered Ravenbeak, when you first arrived at the bottom of the elevator, you just kind of got trashed by him in cutscene. All the attacks that he did were attacks that he uses in the boss fight. Like, every one, it's like, oh, he did the thing you gotta morph under. Oh, he did the thing where he zips over to you. Ah! That was so cool seeing that the second time around. Oh, well, I know I'm doing a lot better than I did the first time I fought this guy, because I got to the third phase first attempt, so that went pretty well. But yeah, this was the guy that I ended up fighting. I fought him for so long that I was, like, testing how long it takes to kill each phase, using different attacks. And Ice Missile was better than Storm Missile, pretty much all around. Which was better than Charge Beam, pretty much all around. Though I have been told that just spamming your attack is better than pretty much anything else, DPS-wise. I haven't actually tested just spamming the attack. But that does explain why, and I figured this out my first time playing through, that when you actually do the counter and you get your, like, free whole crap ton of hits during the counter animation, I just spam Beam, and it does more damage than pretty much anything else. Which is why I was spamming Beam there. Maybe I should try spamming Beam, see how that goes. Yeah, first phase has different armors. I don't know what the different armors are or do. I just used ice missiles until he puts on his dumb gold armor that you have to counter. You cannot hurt his gold armor. As far as I've found, anyway. You have to counter him. But by the time he's to that point, it's generally like one good counter and you finish him anyway. Second phase is relatively simple. He only has like 3 different attacks. And I was having trouble... I think the one that I had the most trouble with was the one where he shoots out the whole stream of bullets at you. Oh, also, of note, you may have noticed, he's using the Omega Beam. He's got the Omega Stream, which is all the little bullets, and then he can shoot out the big ol' up yours beam. He's got the Omega Stream. He's also a Chozo warrior wearing Chozo armor. How cool is that? He's using all the crap you have. Because why wouldn't he be able to? He's using Chozo armor on a planet where all of these power-ups were. In second phase, I remember having trouble with the spread, the stream, the Omega Stream, the first couple times. Because I was trying to figure out how to beat that phase faster, and I just couldn't figure it out. And that was the phase where eventually I started doing the screw attack around him in circles. But when I'm doing that, I can get an ice missile or 2 in each round. And that actually helped speed things up considerably. Otherwise, he's only got like a small handful of moves, and it's relatively easy. It's just a long phase. The final phase is butts. I'm talking about this now because I can talk calmly. The final phase is butts. I still don't really know how to handle a lot of his attacks. Because obviously I've only beat his final phase once. I didn't have the chance to practice it ad nauseum like the other phases. But yeah, he's got the Shine Spark thing that you saw. He can do that in other directions too, so be careful. You jump over him, he goes up. Probably one of the ones that I have the most trouble with, I think, is when he puts the sun in the arena that shoots out all the little beams that you have to dodge around. And while you're doing that, he charges up and shoots the big Omega Beam at you. There is a very brief tell right before the beam actually goes off, so you can actually jump out of the way and dodge it. But I have trouble timing that, and between timing that and timing all the little friggin' things coming from the sun out of the way, ugh. Okay, that's about all I got, I think. Oh, somebody mentioned that as far as DPS goes, the Storm Missile. Each one of the individual missiles that you shoot out with Storm Missile does regular missile damage. Like, no upgrades, one of your original missiles. But it does fire 3 of them, which which are guaranteed hits, which will do super missile damage. So if you get like 3 lock-ons or something on him, that is the equivalent of an ice missile. Storm missile is generally more efficient on faster moving targets, because you can lock on, and even if they're moving around, you can get a guaranteed hit in. When you fire, it will hit them. And I think that's why it works better on the those little machine guard things that you fought like right after getting Storm Missile. Because they move around a lot, that you can get like one good ice missile in that you know you can actually land before you've got to go run around again. And like, yeah, you're going to be hitting them with those, but if you just lock on a little bit and then dodge around some and then lock on some more, that's plenty of damage you can get in. I feel like with Raven Beak, he stands still long enough that, and doesn't move enough, that when you could lock onto him with Storm Missile, you can also just hit him with an Ice Missile, which is going to be better DPS. I should test Beam, though. Because it never even occurred to me that regular Beam would be more powerful than Charge Beam. Alright, well, off we go. Oh, when you redo these, you gotta watch the cutscene again, but you can skip cutscene. Not this one. Not actually sure if beam was any faster. Alright, that's this one. I hate the sun move! Because you always follow it up with some stupid bullcrap that I don't know how to deal with. I also don't know how to dodge that. That was kind of a parry. Sort of worked. I need to remember to jump when he does that, because you can't get away from him that way. Not the stupid son of a gun. Can I not be here? Whoa, hi. Finally, I remembered to counter that. Don't do that, just jump over him! Just jump! Quit trying to dash away from him! It doesn't work! Oh, heck. We just absorbed the energy from an entire space station, killed Raven Beak as he combined with Kraid, and we are getting the crap out of here. We're also entirely a Metroid now. So that's cool. We also have the friggin' Omega Beam just on command. Technically, I think they call it the Hyper Beam, but look at it. I don't know where I am. I don't know where I'm going. Okay, we're going into an enemy zone, sure. You can, if you feel like you're going to get lost, you can pause and look at the map. And doing so... Can't go through that door. Or that door, so we're going back here. We're going this way, I guess. If you don't know where you're going, just sweep the screen. You'll find a path. This thing will just kill, like, everything. Don't even worry about it. Yeah, look, I'm busy shine sparking, man. I ain't got time for this. Yeah, we're back up top. This is the door that we couldn't go through. Only we can now. Let's go through it and get back to our ship. It's gotta be up here somewhere.
So, you will drain the ship of its energy.
Samus, can you go to one planet without blowing it up? Alright, Samus, we need you to go to this planet we've never heard of. It may have X's on it. We sent these Emmys in. We don't know what happened to them either. Please go in, be careful, and if possible, return the Emmys. I'm sorry, did you say blow up the planet? No. I'm pretty sure I heard you say blow up the planet. Anyway, bye. Metroid Dread! There's some theories about what's going on there in the very end, but I think it's fairly obvious. I don't know how much theories are needed. For one, that was Kraid that you saw. Like, when you're freaking out the first time you go through, you just kind of see a big old monster, and you're like, maybe it was the experiment, maybe it was the first boss. Who knows what it was? Like, it was Kraid. Which means that X would have been terrifying. I don't think we've seen a black X before. But clearly, that X had gone down to where we had killed Kraid, absorbed that to become a Kraid X, had turned back into its X form to float around, and then as soon as Ravenbeak got up and was like, alright, let's go, he's weakened and can't really fight back because we just, dropped a space station on him and drained all his living energy out of him because we were a Metroid. And that Kraid X also grabbed Ravenbeak. So you had this double combined Ravenbeak Kraid X. And then we just shot the crap out of him. The beam we had, I believe, if you look at the pause screen, I didn't actually look, I believe if you look at the pause screen, it's called the Hyper Beam. But it was, effectively, what we did was we drained Ravenbeak of all his energy. Like a Metroid. In much the same way the baby Metroid grabbed the absorbed Mother Brain. Only, without the baby Metroid as an in-between. So we gained all the energy he had, which is what let him do, like the Omega Stream, the Omega Beam, just kind of whenever he wanted to, which is why we could just friggin' run around and shoot the Stupid Beam. Stupid Beam is not inherently, to my understanding, Stupid Beam is not inherently part of, it's called the Metroid suit, not inherently part of the Metroid suit, but it came because once our Metroid DNA really woke up and got tired of Ravenbeak's crap. Which that was an interesting moment too, because we'd gotten a lot better, our Metroid DNA had gotten a lot stronger, and he said it was fighting Ravenbeak and may have stirred our Metroid DNA to hate whatever his tribe was. The fighters. Mawkin? To hate the Mawkin. So when we're standing there, friggin' held up by a Mawkin with stronger Metroid DNA and generally more powerful, and we pass out, our Metroid DNA is probably in there like, dude, you gonna let a Mawkin do this? Hold up. Sit down for a second, I got this. And then we killed a man. And then when we got back to the ship, what was going on with Quiet Robe there? Because Quiet Robe was an X. Remember that the X's absorb the knowledge. Not just the appearance and form, but the knowledge and understanding of the one that they take over. I got it in under 10 hours this time. Do I get, the second best ending? Still get the word? Really? My last save was at 8:30. Dang it. I still think that's the worst ending. I don't know what the best or second best ending time limits are. I'm willing to bet second best is sub 10 hours. Because I think that's what it was in Super. But yeah, an X absorbs the knowledge understanding of the one they took over. In taking over Quiet Robe, that X probably gained an understanding of what the X would do, as well as Quiet Robe's empathy and want to help Samus, effectively a fellow Chozo. And so in the end, what you got was that was an X, but it was an X with Quiet Robe's knowledge and understanding that could see not only the danger that the X posed to the universe, but also the desire to help a fellow Chozo. Effectively his, unofficial daughter, so to say, as Ravenbeak was talking. No, Samus is not Ravenbeak's daughter. But he's Mawkin. She had Mawkin DNA. That deal. So that's that. Like, that almost, like, daughter kind of feel. So, turns back into his X form and gives himself to Samus, which then gives Samus an excess of Thoha DNA through the X. The Thoha can control the Metroid, which calmed the Mawkin DNA the crap down. There's your ending. We did it! We beat the video game! This game's good. I'm genuinely happy that I played this game a second time. And for the videos. And I say that because I went through enough anxiety and enough trouble my first playthrough just dealing with the difficulty. I don't know if it's just like took me some extra neural connectors to get the feel for the game or what, but I had enough of a hard time that after I beat it the first time, I saw everybody raving for it and going like, man, I'm replaying the game and I'm going to do this and I'm going to speedrun it and everything. And I felt like, you can have it. I had an okay time, but the game just stressed me out. Had kind of an unpleasant experience. But in going back and playing it through a second time, I could use all the knowledge and experience and neural connections from the first playthrough. And I feel like I could experience the game the second time through more on its own merits. Of course, I didn't get nearly as much of like the wow factor that you get the first run through when you see something the first time and go, holy crap. When you see something cool or do something cool. And that's impossible to do after your first playthrough. But I enjoyed the second playthrough a ton. Like, it took me going through the second playthrough to get to the end and go, I'm actually kind of excited to do a third playthrough. I want to play the game again. This is good crap. And it is. I still think this is an amazing game. Absolutely amazing game. I do not think it is perfect, though I don't think any game is. And I do feel like there are a few things about it that may not make it my absolute favorite Metroid game, but right now, it's up there. It's heckin' up there. This is like... I don't even know what it would be. What my second would be if not this. Like, maybe Prime 1? Prime 1 was good, though. Like, I genuinely feel like this game took so much that they had learned from prior Metroid games and refined it into that one experience. They did what I said they did with Super. With Super, they had 1 and 2 to figure things out. And then 3, they said, we're not going to worry about doing anything fancy or new or unique or gimmicky or anything. We're just going to make the best Metroid game we can on new hardware. And they did. And it was a legendary game. And I feel like this game is very similar. Because after Super, they did what they set out to do. What are you going to do next? Do Super again? I mean, admittedly, Nintendo always wants to innovate in some way and do something new, but at the same time, I feel like there's a line drawn between you don't have to be that innovative. We're pretty cool with something like vaguely similar to what we had before, just like better with maybe some new little bits and bobs on it. But they did what they wanted to do with Super, and there's not really anywhere they could go from there without doing something new. And they did. That's where Fusion came in. They took Fusion in an entirely different direction. And I feel like Fusion, for what it was, is still a very flawed game, but I can very much appreciate what new they were trying to do. Despite that maybe they didn't execute it as well as they could have. But that's also to be expected, because they were doing something new. And then they took that into Zero Mission. And then they took Zero Mission and took that into Other M. And the Prime games. And even though Other M was as big kind of a fart as it ended up being, there was so much good about Other M. Despite the quantity of bad. And my biggest fear with Other M was that because of the negative reception, they were going to write off Other M entirely, instead of looking at what it did good and what it did bad, and fixing what it did bad and taking what it did good, what it did new and amazingly. And they took all of that, everything, into Samus Returns, where they again tried to do something new, but they did it in a slightly smaller scale, slightly more experimental way. They were feeling out the waters. And then they took all of that, everything, and they said, we're not going to try to do something new. Something new or innovative or genre-defining. We're not going to do that. We're just going to take everything that we've learned about how to handle exploration, how to handle combat, how to handle boss fights, how to handle a narrative, how to handle emotion, how to handle linearity and non-linearity. We're going to take everything and put everything we've learned together into the peak Metroid experience on new hardware. I feel like if any game felt to me like a Super Metroid 2, it was this game. The combat is amazing. The general movement is unbelievably smooth and precise. It almost reads your mind about what it is that you want to do and adapts to that to make every little thing that you're trying to do as fluid as possible. They also, despite the fact that Samus almost doesn't talk throughout the game, they still gave her a monumental amount of personality. This is the oldest and most mature Samus that we've ever had. And they took that, and they made her a stronger, more mature character than we have ever had. And that shows in not only her confidence, her quick actions, her decisiveness, her complete lack of willing to put up with anybody's crap. And it all comes through. In this game, she is brutal. But she's not brutal because it feels like she's a brutal person. She's brutal because it feels like this is what the job requires, and she's going to do her job. You know, this is the one I always cite. You know the friggin' 6-foot-tall Amazon Samus that's in the Super Metroid Player's Guide that I always cite, that you just see as this, like, war-hardened, like, ex-military lady that can just snap your neck? That ever since Super Metroid, everybody has said, that's the Samus we want. Why can't we have that Samus? That's this Samus! Just everything about her character, her personality, how they portrayed it, how they brought her across, all of that was beautiful. Beautifully handled. I think the power-ups that they had in the game were amazing. They didn't really do, as I mentioned, they didn't really do anything new or crazy or innovative with them. It's mostly stuff that was in previous games that was maybe tweaked or redefined a little bit to bring back. Only a small handful of new, neat experiences. And none of those were like, this is the newest, hottest crap that's going to be the gimmick for the whole game. Instead, it was like the cross bomb. That was just oh, this is kind of neat. Like, probably the closest thing to that was the closest thing to something that was completely new and unique was the Phantom Cloak. Which wasn't even, like, that innovative, so to say. It's just a hide button when you're dealing with sneaking around crap. Which they took from Fusion. How are you going to handle running from an SAX? Is it just pursuit mode all the time? No, what if the SAX is just always around? We got to give you a way to hide. There you go! I feel like, as much as I praise the game, I do have a few issues with the game, though. I think the biggest one for me personally, because everybody is going to weigh different things as different importance. Some people may not care about this at all. But the biggest thing by far for me personally, and this is not the first time you've heard this from me, or the second, or the third time you've heard this from me over the course of this series, but it's the environment design. I feel like there wasn't nearly enough uniqueness to the environment design. Everything ended up just feeling like gray tech base. Gray tech base or rocks hanging around. And, like, whole first area, gray tech base with rocks running around. The second area, gray tech base with rocks going around, maybe some lava here and there. The third area, gray tech base with rocks hanging around. Fourth area, gray tech base with rocks hanging around and maybe a little bit of water. Like, there were some neat... I feel like they needed to lean into each individual area a lot more and come up with more interesting ways to push that environment design. Because I feel like as an alien world, you should be more than willing to do alien things. And I feel like with alien design, alien world design, a lot of things, not just Metroid, a lot of games, and not just games, really, I feel like they've lost the ability almost to see really interesting, unique alien design. Instead, they go, what's an alien planet look like? And, like, they just come up with, like, Earth, but the grass is purple, or something. And I feel like that's kind of similar. Like, I want to see weird crap. First area, tech base with some rock in it. I think that's cool. As a first area, introductory area, give us something basic. The second area, that was the hot area. I think we needed to see way more heat. The Emmy zones were all identical to each other. And I feel like, despite that was important for somewhat thematic reasons, I also feel like they needed to add a little bit of environmental uniqueness to the the different Emmy zones. Like, make the fire Emmy zone. Give it a red hue, put some lava around, or something. Put, like, the gimmick of it in the area. Make it feel like it's a part of that area. And then, like, it's a lava zone. It's the hot zone. You gotta do a lot of crazy stuff. Where's my friggin' Norfair bubbles? With the weird crap. Like, water. Actually, the water, they did some neat stuff, but I feel like they could have pushed it more. And I always refer to Super, but I feel like Super had some of the most amazing environment design in this regard you could even think of. Like, they had that kind of tech-basey area, but it was, like, weird and purpley, almost, and it still had, like, sand flowing and kind of that weird rocky thing in the background and water flowing down into areas. Like, it didn't feel like, oh, it's just an underwater tech base. Like, it felt not quite right. And that was only a small portion of Meridia. There were several other aesthetics all in it. Like the weird yellowy rock area with the weird, like the green grass on top and all the vines coming down in the background. Like they had that area. They had the green bubbly rock almost with like the whatever those cube square things were floating around in the background. Like, that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. And in that regard, I was a fair bit disappointed. That aside, though, I don't have a lot of complaints. I feel like I don't really know how to comment on the difficulty of the bosses. Because I feel like the boss difficulty is very unfriendly to someone playing the first time. Someone like me playing the first time. That spent 2 hours trying to beat the final boss. But I also know how learnable it all is. And that once you learn it, you can go back and you can just murder the heck out of these bosses. So I don't know if what I could do to make it to like keep that level of skill that you can adapt to in order to like breeze through these things while also making it slightly more friendly to newcomers. I don't know. Like, I can cite an issue and also say I do not know how to fix it. I do feel like the indicator that you can parry something, I feel like it needs to happen just a little bit sooner. That's an easy thing. I feel like that needs to happen just a little bit sooner. Because my reaction time is not enough that I can see that, react to it, and parry. Not even blind. Like, even if I've seen it before, I cannot react to it in time. I have to effectively have seen it, know when it's going to go off, at what stage in their attack it's going to go off, and hit the parry button before I even acknowledge that I have seen the parry indicator. So, yeah, that is one thing that I have a minor problem with. But again, that's learnable. You do it enough, you learn it. I feel like... the end of the game felt a little rushed. Like, I feel like the crossbomb showed up at kind of a weird point. I feel like that needed to happen sooner. I feel like you kind of sprinted to space jump right after getting the spin boost, which was super cool. But you kind of sprinted to space jump, so like spin boost felt more like a... Here's a neat idea, but we don't really want you to play with it for too long. Like, it almost felt like they were unsure about it. There was room on the map for a whole other area in the upper right-hand corner. And I was kind of expecting a whole other area. And, the criteria area, whatever that top area is that I can't remember any of the names of the areas. Whatever that top area was, criteria or whatever, that was a very small area. Like, it was only a very small handful of rooms. Like, it was legit, you walk in from the left, you find a wave beam door that you can't go through, and then you exit out the south. And then you come back from the south, go through the wave beam door, right to where the Emmy is, immediately kill the Emmy, and that's the whole area. I feel like in general I feel like the Emmy weren't utilized as much as they needed to be, but especially so late in the game. Like, the first couple Emmys, I think, are real good. But after that, it almost felt like, especially near the very end, it felt like you almost just got shuffled through them. Like, they were there because they had to be. You didn't have to worry about, like, oh, I've got to get my way through, and how am I going to get through from one area to the other? Oh no, I have to go back through the Emmy area to get back to this area again and, like, make your way through. Instead, it was very strictly, I'm going in this door, I'm going out that door. And it's a sprint to get in one end and out the other, and then you never look back. Like, the last couple Emmys were like that, and I feel like the very last Emmy... Oh, and, like, the waking up to the Metroid powers and everything, I feel like that was kind of rushed, too. Like, there was indication of it, but it was very little. Almost non-existent, right up until the cutscene where that creature jumped out of the thing and, like, you almost grabbed it. And then you had almost immediately after that when the friggin' Emmy showed up, and then you just take the Emmy out. Which felt... It was cool, don't get me wrong. But it did feel a bit like... almost a bit disappointing as well. Like, the Emmys were set up as a huge thing in this game. Like, the poster boy of Dread. And it felt like as the game went on, the Emmys were just less and less important. I was the first time I played through, I was genuinely expecting that last Emmy to really be a thing. And, like, honestly, once you got Gravity and Screw Attack and Space Jump, they, like, didn't give you anything to do with them. You got Gravity. You backtracked through that area to turn the heat back on once you got Gravity. And then as soon as you turn the heat back on, you got Screw Attack, and then you just beat the game. Effectively. Like, go back up, get cross bombs kind of as an afterthought, get power bomb, you don't even have to do anything, we're just going to give it to you, and then beat the game. Like, you didn't have anything to do with it. And I feel like just making that final area, that criteria area, bigger, just make it bigger, give us something to do. And admittedly, once you have, like, space jump and gravity and screw attack and everything, it's pretty quick just to move around. So it's kind of hard to give you stuff to do. And they're not going to give you any more power-ups, so they can't, like, put a barrier in that you need a power-up. So you got to run through things and get the power-up and come back. But they also showed early on that they can very easily make a lot of barriers that you have to do something that has nothing to do with power-ups to get past. Such as hitting the heat switches in the fire area. Or turning the power back on, which you only had to do like twice. I was really expecting that to be kind of a thing. Yeah, or turning the power back on, or raising or lowering the water levels, or freezing the one area, and then you can't go underwater, so you gotta melt the ice. So I think that would have assuaged a lot of my concerns about the end feeling rushed, is make that last area bigger. Make the last area bigger, make you deal with that Emmy, and make that Emmy a thing, and kind of build up the Metroid powers, I feel like. Make it so, like, you can't get to the brain. Maybe go talk to Adam, and Adam's like, yo, so they've actually barricaded the brain on this one? You can't get to it. You're gonna have to find a different way to kill that Emmy. And then, like, you go through a couple things while you figure out and do whatever with your Metroid powers. Before maybe eventually you just get cornered by that Emmy somewhere. Like, I don't know, you kind of wake something up and you're going, I don't know about this. And then you, like, fall into a room or whatever in the Emmy zone. And then the Emmy comes in and you're like, well, crap, here I go, now I die. And then you do the thing. I mean, I'm pooping noise at this point. But I've gone on a huge tangent. But I feel like that would have helped out that end bit a little bit. As far as where Metroid can go from here, I'm very excited to see where Metroid goes from here, honestly. They've finally broken through the fusion ceiling. And granted, they brought the X back for it, but I feel like if they... I was originally a little worried, like, oh, they just brought the X back for this game, so they're just going to be retreading friggin' the whole deal with fusion. And going like, okay, well, the X are back. Time to go get rid of the X, and then that's that. And the reason that bothered me was I very much wanted Metroid to move on. It's been stuck in this pre-fusion sphere bubble for so long, and they haven't been able to push past fusion. And I was scared when I saw the X come back that instead of getting out of that bubble and actually pushing out of that bubble, they were just kind of stretching that bubble out as far as they could. And my fear was that they were never going to get out of that bubble. They were just going to keep pushing it out and pushing it out and pushing it out. But I feel like what they did with the Metroid DNA in this, and what that did for Samus. Because before, in Fusion, all we really saw the Metroid DNA do for us is, oh, you can absorb X's. But we saw it do other things here. And I feel like they could very easily, from here on, not have an X ever appear again. And explore where this Metroid DNA takes her. Takes Samus. Also, as much as I want them to break that bubble, I want to see a Metroid again. The series is called Metroid, for Pete's sake. It doesn't have to be the same old, the same old. Oh well, as it turns out, the Federation was breeding them somewhere else. Go get him, Samus. But like, I don't know, man. Bring him back as something friendly. I don't know. But regardless, I feel like they could very easily. I feel like despite that while playing it, it felt like they were afraid to break out of that bubble. I feel like in reaching to the end, they had successfully broken the bubble. They can go wherever they want now. They didn't even have the Space Pirates or Mother Brain or anything like that as the main antagonist. I am excited to see where Samus's adventures take her. To see where she goes from here. And I'm unbelievably happy that this game has received the critical acclaim that it has. Because if this had been another friggin' fart like Other M, then who knows if we ever would have seen another Metroid game. Much less them doing something like trying to break out of that bubble. So I am unbelievably excited for where we're going from here, and where Samus's adventures go from here. Honestly, I'd like to see something completely new. Give us a whole new enemy. Give us a whole new antagonist. Give us a whole new threat. Give us something brand new that comes in from outside the universe, or that you discover on some ancient planet buried deep down. Like, the universe is your oyster. And I beg you to make use of it. I feel like I have so much more to say, but I also feel like I've said more than enough. I still think, I think this is an amazing game, an absolutely amazing game. And not only what it is, but what it means the world to me. And so, I will draw Metroid 5 to a close. I hope you've had a good time. I hope you've enjoyed me flailing about. I hope you've learned something. Or if you haven't, I hope you at least don't regret the time you've spent with me. Until next time, everyone.